111 wins. The Los Angeles Dodgers, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, and Trey Turner. 2 MVPs between the three, and 2 World Series titles. For a lot of people, the 2022 Dodgers were one of the greatest regular season teams they had ever seen, boasting one of the great and talented big threes the league had seen in quite some time. By the month of September, it was already a foregone conclusion in most MLB fans' minds that this Dodgers team would not only end up in the World Series, but most likely win it. The team was an utter offensive juggernaut, leading the league in RBIs, on-base percentage, OPS, and runs scored. It seemed as if every series that the Dodgers went through, no matter what team it was or what pitching staff it was, the opposing pitcher or bullpen, that offense and that team would pick them apart. They would slaughter their way through that bullpen and come out on the other end scoring at least 15 runs a series. And while the big three of the Dodgers were slaughtering their way through lineups at the top, and the Dodgers were getting contributions from other guys down further in the lineup. Guys like Gavin Lux, guys like Will Smith. No, not that Will Smith. It seemed as if no pitcher or organization could stop the Dodgers from imposing their will on their team. Ever so rarely do we get someone in sports who steps on the court, the field, or the diamond, and everyone thinks the same thing. He is him. A person so dominant and utterly destructive that no amount of game planning or talent can handle that man. Basketball has had some of the greatest athletes in sports history, but no other players have incited the fear and anxiety that only one Michael Jeffrey Jordan did in his opponents when they had to face him. For years in the NFL, Lawrence Taylor threw parties all over the league's offensive lines as he terrified guards and tackles in the game of what must have felt like eeny, meeny, miny, mo to him. There was no guard or lineman in the league that could truly handle the force that was Lawrence Taylor in his prime. Grassy Diamond hasn't had a force so spine-chilling and cold-blooded since the 90s and 2000s with Pedro Martinez and Barry Bonds. But that is until one man stepped foot on that diamond.
To become secure, I have to have value. I want to be worth something. I want to be worth enough to attract the attention of others.
Enter Jacob Degrom, the 6'4", 180-pound titan of a pitcher who doesn't care about what lineup he faces or what logo's on that jersey. All he cares about is one thing: making you suffer in the box. Degrom's name is so feared and respected in the league at this point, you could compare it to the fear that John Wick commands in his universe. On August 31st, 2020, Jacob Degrom would have his start against his next victim, and they were the same Dodgers we just discussed earlier. For most of the season, the Dodgers had displayed a level of dominance not rivaled by any other when facing the opposition. It felt as if you were locked in the cage with the Dodgers, and you had nowhere to run. But on this night, it was the Dodgers locked in the cage with Degrom, and they had nowhere to run.
Mookie Betts leads off. First pitch by Degrom, a fastball for a strike at 101 miles an hour.
In one of the greatest games I've ever seen pitched by a man who might be the best I've ever seen. It was 2 juggernauts going at it for a 7-round bout that was one for the ages. You could feel the tension with the Dodgers lineup in that first inning as Mookie Betts was tarring up his bat. Degrom was about to face the 3-headed monster of the Dodgers that no one was able to have any success against prior. The first inning went as follows. Betts flies out, Turner walks, and Freeman strikes out. You could see the look of shock in some of the hitters' faces as Degrom was walking off the mound after striking out Smith on the slider. The second inning would have Degrom getting 3 pop-outs as Muncy and Turner would fly out to left, and Gavin Lux would fly out to right. The third inning would have Gallo ground out, Cody Bellinger strikeout swinging, and Mookie Betts strikeout swinging on the slider. Going into the fourth, Degrom was given a 2-run cushion that seemed way more than what he needed for that night. Trey Turner would pop out, Freddie Freeman would ground out, and Will Smith would be struck out on the slider yet again. At this point, Jacob Degrom was starting to intimidate a lot of these batters, and it was apparent as he was no-hitting the league's best offense through 4 innings. The 5th inning would see the no-hitter finally broken up, as after striking out Max Muncy, Justin Turner would pull the pitch for a single back up to left field. Degrom would respond by getting a ground out and a pop out to end the inning. The 6th inning would see Degrom give up his one and only run off a solo shot by Mookie Betts. Jacob would finish off the 6th, heading into the 7th knowing it would be his final inning. And as he does so often, he struck out 2 more batters, ending his night with 9 punchies through 7 innings. As a society, we are so used to things being at our convenience, and we're always in a rush. Sometimes we need to slow down and look around us for the great and the unique things about our lives that we live. That night in New York, what I saw from Degrom was nothing short of one of the greatest pitching performances being put on display I've ever seen. The display of greatness he showed, it was the best versus the best, an unstoppable force versus an immovable object. Jacob Degrom showed the entire baseball world why we look at him with such gaze and awe. His greatness shined through the New York skylights of the stadium into our lives. When all is said and done, if he continues this pace, I will have been able to see the greatest. And when my kids ask, I'll be able to tell them I got to see the greatest of the greats. Appreciation is something we should all have because we don't get too many guys like him that come these ways. My advice is to enjoy it because you may think forever is far away, but really, it's just right around the next corner.